Good morning, students. Today we are going to do a very important lesson from your book Beehive. The name of the lesson is My Childhood, and it is an extract taken from Wings of Fire, the autobiography of APJ Abdul Kalam. We all know that APJ Abdul Kalam has written an autobiography, and the name of his autobiography is Wings of Fire. So this particular chapter, My Childhood, is an extract taken, is a portion you can say, or an extract taken from his autobiography Wings of Fire. Now in this lesson we will come across Kalam's childhood experiences. Okay, here he describes his childhood experiences, early childhood experiences in fact, and he talks about the fact that he was born to a middle class family in Rameshwaram. His journey from selling newspaper to support his family income and then to becoming India's president is quite incredible. It is quite unbelievable when we will read his childhood days and all the difficulties that he has faced during his childhood times. Okay, and then he became one of the greatest scientists. He is known as the missile man of our country, isn't it? And also he became the president of our country, and it is quite unbelievable to actually see that a man belonging to such a humble background could reach such height of success. Okay, so in a way his life is a kind of inspiration for all of us. So we will learn about his struggle and how he met with every challenges in life. Okay, so his life in a way inspires us to dream big, no matter how humble our background might be. In spite of all our challenges and hardships, we can always have our dreams successful, isn't it? We can big dream, and we can also have our dreams coming true. Okay, now let us start with the text. So see, it begins with I, first person narrative. Okay, why it is a first person narrative? Because it is an autobiography. Now how is an autobiography different from a biography? I have already discussed with this with you several times, I think, even in some previous classes also. So an autobiography is a text, is a life story of a person written by himself. Okay, and biography, for example, this present one. Okay, Wings of Fire is an autobiography written by APJ Abdul Kalam. That is, it is the life story of Kalam written by himself. And what is a biography? Biography is a life story of a person written by some other person. Okay, so autobiography is always written in first person narrative, that is I. So now here he talks about his early childhood days. He talks about his family, where he was born, and how he has spent his childhood days. I was born into a middle class Tamil family in the island town of Rameshwaram in the erstwhile Madras state. Okay, now we know it as Chennai. Previously it was known as Madras. Can we come to the end of the chapter where you have a map? Please students, please follow your textbook and come to page number 74, and here you can see Tamil Nadu, isn't it? The state Tamil Nadu, and we see Chennai here. Okay, this blue part is Tamil Nadu. Okay, Chennai is the capital of Tamil Nadu. Previously this Chennai was known as Madras, right? And he was born in Rameshwaram. Okay, now let us come back to the first page. Okay, so in the erstwhile means what? Former. The meaning is given. Erstwhile means former Madras state. My father Janul Abdin had neither much formal education nor much wealth. So he is talking about his father Janul Abdin, who had neither formal education, much formal education. I mean, he didn't have the opportunity. His father didn't have the opportunity to get much formal education, and neither did he have wealth. But despite all these disadvantages, although he didn't have much education nor much wealth, here we are talking about APJ Abdul Kalam's father. He's telling us about his father, that his father didn't have much education nor did he have much wealth. But despite all these disadvantages, he might have all these shortcomings, but he possessed great innate wisdom. okay. But in spite of all the disadvantages, all the shortcomings and disadvantages means he could not go to school much, okay. He didn't acquire formal education, and neither was he rich, but he had what? Great innate wisdom. Innate means what? Inborn quality, okay. So he had the innate wisdom and a true generosity of spirit, okay. So here we can see that generosity means what? Being kind. So his father had this inborn quality of wisdom and true generosity of spirit. That means he was a very kind hearted person. He had an ideal helpmate. So he here is APJ Abdul Kalam's father. So he's talking about his father. He had an ideal helpmate, okay, or you can say helpmate means, mate means friend, help means a friend who is always there to help you. So he had an ideal helpmate, or you can say best friend, in my mother Ashiyama. So he had a very good partner, okay. His wife, that means his mother, APJ Abdul Kalam's mother, was a very loving and caring wife for his father, okay. And he found, APJ Abdul Kalam's father found a very good friend in his mother Ashiyama. I do not recall the exact number of people she fed every day, but I am quite certain that far more outsiders ate with us than all the members of our own family put together. So we can see that how generous this family was, isn't it? He is saying that I do not recall exactly, I cannot tell you exactly how many people my mother used to feed every day. She used to cook and feed every day so many people, outsiders. Okay, but I can tell one thing certainly, that there were more outsiders who ate in our family, who took food in our family than all the members of our own family together. That is what, there were more outsiders who used to visit their house and have meal with the family, okay. The number of members of the family were less than the number of outsiders. That means outsiders were more. I was one of many children, okay. There were many children in that family, and he was one of them. APJ Abdul Kalam was one of them. Now he gives a description about himself. He tells that he was not a very smart looking boy, okay. He was a short boy with rather undistinguished looks, okay. Now distinguished means what? Recognizable, okay, distinct you can say. But his looks were nothing extraordinary, okay. It was very simple and very plain. He was not a very good looking smart boy. He was a short boy with rather undistinguished looks, okay, not very smart look you can say. Born to tall and handsome parents, but in contrast to him, his parents were very good looking, okay. His parents were mother was beautiful and his father was very handsome, but he was not like his parents. Rather, he was a short boy. His parents were very tall, but he was a short boy and did not have great looks you can say. We lived in our ancestral house. Ancestral, you understand? Ancestral means something that you inherit from your forefathers. Ancestral house means parental house you can say. That means grandfather's house or forefathers house. So they lived in their forefathers house, which was built in the middle of the 19th century, okay. 19th century means 1800 something, after 1850. It was a fairly large pakka house, okay. It was a big pakka house made of limestone and brick on the mosque street in Rameshwaram. So his house was this house was on the mosque street in Rameshwaram, okay. We all know that Rameshwaram is a very famous place. It is a pilgrimage place, isn't it? It is a very beautiful place. My austere father used to avoid all inessential. Austere means what? The meaning is given here, students. Austere means simple, strict and severe. His father was simple, at the same time very strict and very sober also you can say. Very severe. My austere father used to avoid all inessential comforts and luxuries. So you can see that his father was a very simple living man. He avoided all kind of unnecessary comforts and luxuries, okay. However, but all necessities were provided for in terms of food, medicine or clothes to us. But the father always ensured that the children in the house got all the necessary things in terms of food, medicines or clothes, okay. All the necessities were provided to the children, but there was nothing nothing of luxurious kind, okay. No extra comfort or luxuries were given to the children, okay. So he was a simple but a strict man in that way, okay. But he always ensured that in terms of food, medicine, clothes and education, everything is provided to his children. In fact, I would say mine was a very secure childhood, both materially and emotionally. So he's saying that I would rather say that my childhood was a very secure childhood, both materially and emotionally. I was not deprived either materially or emotionally. I got both material. I mean, whatever was necessary, okay, in childhood was given to me, was provided to me, and also emotionally, I had enough from my parents, from both of my parents. Now, the Second World War broke out in 1939 when I was 8 years old. So, in 1939, the Second World War broke out, right? And APJ Abdul Kalam was only 8 years old during that time. Only 8 years old, okay? Now, let us talk a little bit about World War here, okay? We know that it is one of the deadliest conflict that has ever happened in the history of mankind, isn't it? Second World War. So, and two groups, the two groups that fought against each other were the Allies and the Axis. Allies versus the Axis. And let me tell you, students, that around 30 countries participated in this war. Okay, some of the countries were with the Allies, some of the countries were with the Axis group. Okay. Now, in short, let me tell you the main allied, countries and their leaders. In main allied countries, they had Soviet Union, now that we know as Russia, after being getting degenerated, and their main leader was Joseph Stalin. Okay, Soviet Union, and the main leader of Soviet Union was Joseph Stalin. You must have heard this name in your social science. So in the allied group we had Soviet Union, okay, led by Stalin. Then we had United States, led by Franklin D. Roosevelt. And I think we have come across this in another chapter, in Einstein's chapter also, isn't it? We have come across Franklin D. Roosevelt in Einstein chapter. Einstein writes a letter to Franklin D. Roosevelt regarding the bomb and all. I won't go into that. Okay, then UK was there, United Kingdom, led by Winston Churchill. Then Republic of China was there, and it was led by Chiang Kai-shek. Okay, Chiang Kai-shek. You can get all this information in net also. Please try to get some extra information about World War II. So the main allies that group, allies group, was mainly Soviet Union, United States, UK, Republic of China. Okay. Now in the other group, Axis group, it was between allies and the Axis. Now in the Axis group, there was Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler. There was Empire of Japan, led by Hirohito, and there was Fascist Italy. Okay, and it was led by Mussolini. So you please try to gather more information about World War II, about the Allies versus Axis. Okay, and India was also compelled to join that war, isn't it? We all know about that. Okay, now the Second World War broke out in 1939 when I was just 8 years old. For reasons I have never been able to understand, a sudden demand for tamarind seeds erupted in the market. So he is recollecting, okay, it was his early childhood days, 8 years, he was only 8 years old. So he's saying that I vaguely remember that suddenly there was an upsurge of, there was a high demand of tamarind in the market. Tamarind, isn't it, Imli? So suddenly there was a demand of tamarind seed, not tamarind, but tamarind seeds that erupted in the market. Erupted means what? To break out something dramatically. That means to come up in the market. Here it means what? To come up suddenly. Okay. Erupt means to come up suddenly. So there was a sudden demand of tamarind seeds that came up in the market. So what he used to do? I used to collect the seeds and sell them to a provision shop on Mosque Street. So what he used to do is that as a small kid, he used to collect those seeds of tamarind. Tamarind you must have eaten, isn't it? It's a very tasty, tangy fruit, tamarind. Okay, Imli. So you must be taking Imli chocolates, okay, Imli, all these candies and all. But during our time, we used to take, tamarind with chilies and all those things. Very tasty. I used to collect the seeds and sell them to a provision shop on Mosque Street. So what he used to do is that he used to collect the seeds and he used to sell them to a shop on Mosque Street. Okay. Now here we can see that there was a sudden demand, and he is not able to actually recollect that why there was a sudden demand for tamarind seeds. Okay. A day's collection would fetch me the princely sum of 1 anna. And so now here he is saying, ironically he is saying that, after collecting all these seeds and after selling them in the shop, I used to get a princely sum of, princely means what? Generous. Okay, nice sum of 1 anna, only 1 anna. So here is a ironic reference here. Princely, why is saying princely sum of 1 anna? 1 anna is only 6 paisa. ओके, सो ही इज सेइंग दैट प्रिंसली सम 1 आना मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा मिलता था, पता है, 1 आना मिलता था. सो हियर इज़ एन आयरनी, राइट, बहुत कम है. 1 आना इज़ वेरी लेस. 1 आना मीन्स ओनली 6 पैसा. सो बट ही इज सेइंग दैट आई यूज टू गेट अ लॉट ऑफ मनी. यू नो हाउ मच आई यूज टू गेट 1 आना. सो ही इज़ एक्चुअली हियर रेफरिंग इट इन एन आयरनिक मैनर. That means he is trying to say something, but he's just trying to mean the opposite. Princely here means not, princely does not mean here generous. बहुत ज़्यादा amount नहीं है. 1 आना is a very less amount. My brother-in-law Jaliluddin would tell me stories about the war, which I would later attempt to trace in the headlines in Dinamani. So what is he saying? That my brother-in-law, he used to tell him stories about the World War II that was going on during that time. And later on, he used to read the headlines in Dinamani, is the name of a newspaper. So he used to read the newspaper. So here students see, at the age of 8, this small kid used to read the newspaper, isn't it? So he would try to trace out the headlines and try to relate whatever his brother-in-law used to tell him about the war. He tried to find out more information about the World War II that was going on from the newspaper Dinamani. Our idea, that means Rameshwaram, our idea means what? Rameshwaram, being isolated because it is surrounded by water, isn't it? Rameshwaram is surrounded by water. So our area being isolated, so it was definitely isolated as it was surrounded by water, was completely unaffected by the war. It was not much affected by the war. Okay, although the rest of the India was feeling the heat of the war, but Rameshwaram, being isolated, remained mostly unaffected by the war. But soon India was forced to join the Allied forces. But very soon India was also compelled to join the Allied forces. Allied forces, you can see students, just in the note it is given the armies of UK, USA and Russia during the World War II. Okay, so I already told you about the Allied powers. It was Soviet Union, that is Russia, US, UK and China. They were all, and many other countries, okay, small countries were also there in Allied powers. Later on they joined, but these big shots were the main powers during the World War II for the Allied forces. And in the other one, Axis forces, we had the Nazi Germany, Empire of Japan and Fascist Italy. Okay, and you remember, right, I told you in that previous chapter that we did in an Einstein chapter that US dropped that bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. Okay, so you can relate to this as well. So now India was also forced to join the Allied forces. Okay, I mean soldiers were taken from our country to many, and let me tell you student, many people have died during this war. Okay, this is considered to be the deadliest conflict that the human mankind has ever seen. Okay, so what happened? India was also forced to join Allied forces, and something like a state of emergency was declared. So definitely when India has joined, was forced to join the Allied forces, definitely the country, there was the emergency declared in the country. The first casualty came in the form of the suspension of the train halt at Rameshwaram temple. Okay, so now what happened? The first casualty. So casualty usually means usually means people who die because of some kind of an event. Okay, but here it means something that is badly affected by an event or situation. Okay, so here this particular small place was badly affected because of this World War. Okay, previously it was not affected much, but later on it was affected. So what was the first casualty? How was it affected? It came in the form of the suspension of the train halt at Rameshwaram station. There was a train which used to stop at Rameshwaram station, but owing to this emergency that arose because of this war in the country, that train was suspended. Okay, that means the train used to pass Rameshwaram station, but it did not stop in that station. Okay, the reason is not clearly given to us here. Now what happened? The newspapers now had to be bundled and thrown out from the moving train on the Rameshwaram road between Rameshwaram and Dhanushkodi. Okay, now newspapers are actually brought from one place to another place usually by trains, isn't it? So now, if the train is not stopping at Rameshwaram station, how will the newspapers be? How they are going to procure the newspaper? So now the newspaper had to be bundled, okay, and they were thrown out of the moving train in between a place called Rameshwaram Road, which was between Rameshwaram and Dhanushkodi. Okay, between these two stations there was a Rameshwaram Road, and someone from the train used to throw the newspaper bundle on the road. Now that forced my cousin Samsuddin, who distributed newspaper in Rameshwaram, to look for a helping hand to catch the bundles, and as if naturally I filled the slot. Now it so happened that his cousin, one of his cousins, Samsuddin, was the distributor of newspaper in Rameshwaram, and now he wanted to, he was looking for a helping hand. He was looking for a person who will be there in that particular time at Rameshwaram Road to catch the bundles when it is thrown out of the train. And as if naturally I filled the slot, and he had me in his mind. He thought that I would do the job properly, so I filled the slot. Okay, so I was appointed to catch the bundle, to collect the bundle from the running train when they drop the bundles on the road, on the street. So Samsuddin helped me earn my first wages. So my cousin, actually Samsuddin, helped me to earn my first wages. So definitely when he was doing this, he was given some money, isn't it? Half a century later, I can still feel the surge of pride in earning my own. So what is he saying? He's saying that even after 50 years, half a century later means even after 50 years, okay, now that means he's talking about the time when he was 58, isn't it? So even after half a century later, I can still feel the surge. Surge means what? Surge actually means a sudden powerful feeling, upward or forward movement. But here it means feeling, a sudden powerful feeling, okay? But surge actually means a sudden powerful powerful upward movement, you can say, the surge of the tide. Okay, the surge of the tide. So but here it means some kind of powerful feelings. So there was a powerful feeling of pride in earning my own money for the first time in my life. Okay, paragraph 4. Every child is born with some inherited characteristics into a specific socio-economic and emotional environment, and trained in certain ways by figures of authority. Now he is talking about how he was brought up in his family. So he is saying that every child is born with some inherited characteristic. Inherited means something that you inherit from your parents, some characteristics that you get from your parents. Okay, and this child, every child is born into a certain specific socio-economic environment, certain kind of emotional environment, and is also given some kind of training in a certain way by figures of authority. Figures of authority here means all the guardians in the house. Okay, so the way he is trying to say that every child, the way an adult behaves actually reflects the background of that adult, isn't it? How he was brought up as a child, how he was being trained in the house. Okay, if the child has been taught in the right manner, so he will grow up into a good adult, isn't it? But if he acquires wrong things from his surroundings, from his environment, okay, from school and house both, then he would definitely not grow up into a good human being, right? So here figures of authority means his parents, mostly his parents and other guardians in the house. So from his house, from his family members, from his parents particularly, he is saying that I inherited, that means I got honesty and self-discipline from my father. So what is he saying? Please underline this because you have a question on this. So he inherited honesty and self-discipline from his father. And from his mother he is saying that I got faith in goodness and deep kindness. So he got faith in goodness and deep kindness from his mother. From his father he learned honesty and self-discipline. From his mother he learned what? Faith in goodness and deep kindness. And so did my 3 brothers and sisters. And also my other brothers and sisters have also learned all these values from my father and my mother. He is talking now next about his 3 close friends. Okay, I had 3 close friends in my childhood. Ramanatha Shastri, Arabindan and Shiva Prakashan. All these boys were from Orthodox Hindu Brahmin families. Now he is talking about his three friends, okay? And all these three friends belonged from Orthodox, that means very strict Hindu Brahmin families. As children, none of us ever felt any difference amongst ourselves because of our religious differences and upbringing. Okay, so he's saying, but then although we came from different religious background. Okay, they came from Orthodox Hindu Brahmin families, and I was a Muslim. But as children, none of us ever felt any kind of difference, okay, amongst ourselves. That means our religion never could come in between our friendship. Okay, nothing could actually keep us away. We were very good friends. So our religious differences and our differences in upbringing in no way became a hindrance in our friendship. We were good friends. In fact, Ramanatha Shastri was the son of Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, the highest priest of the Ramaneshwaram temple. So he is saying that in fact, my best friend Ramanatha Shastri was the son of Pakshi Lakshman Shastri, who was the highest priest in the Ramaneshwaram temple, a Brahmin son. Later, my friend Ramanatha Shastri took over the priesthood. He also became a priest, okay, of the Rameshwaram temple from his father. And what about Aravindan? Aravindan went into the business of arranging transport for visiting pilgrims. Okay, he was kind of a tourist guide. And Shiva Prakashan became a catering contractor for southern Himalayas. He became a catering contractor in railways. That means those who serve food in the trains. Now paragraph 5. During the annual Sri Sita Rama Kalyanam ceremony, our family used to arrange boats with special platform for carrying idols of the Lord from the temple to the marriage site situated in the middle of the pond called Rama Tirtha, which was near our house. Now there is a very special kind of celebration which takes place in many places in South India, okay? And this is around the story of Sita and Ram. What happens, students, annually, that means every year, the statue of Rama and Sita were brought, okay, from the temple, and it was carried from the temple, and it was taken to the middle of a pond called Rama Tirtha, okay. Sorry. And there the idols, where the kind of wedding takes place between these two idols, okay, that is Ram and Sita. Everywhere it is done, okay. That means the wedding of Ram and Sita. This is the celebration of the wedding of Ram and Sita, you can say. Everywhere it is an annual celebration. So during the annual Sita Ram Kalyanam ceremony, our Kalyanam is wedding ceremony, our family used to arrange boats, okay. So see, they were Muslims, isn't it? But this family arranged boats with special kind of platform to carry the idols of the Lord Ram and Sita from the temple to the marriage site. This marriage site was situated in the middle of the pond called Rama Tirtha, which was near their house. Okay. So you can see that the family was very liberal, isn't it? They were not bound by religious religious. They were not short-sighted. They were not narrow-minded, isn't it? They were not bound by religious bindings, I would say. Events from the Ramayana and from the life of the prophet were the bedtime stories my mother and grandmother would tell the children in our family. So he is saying that as a young child, I have grown up listening to the stories of Ramayana and also of Prophet Muhammad. Okay, these used to be our bedtime stories, and this who used to narrate these stories to them? By his mother and his grandmother. They would tell them stories from Ramayana as well as they would tell the life story of Prophet Muhammad. Okay, so you can see there was no differences. Okay, so he grew up in a very liberal atmosphere, in a very modern atmosphere, I would say, isn't it? One day, when I was in the 5th standard at the Rameshwaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to our class. Okay, I used to, where am I? One day when I was in the 5th standard at the Rameshwaram Elementary School, he was a student of Rameshwaram Elementary School. A new teacher came to our class. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim, and I always sat in the front row next to Ramanathan Shastri because Ramanathan Shastri was his best friend. So they both used to sit with each other, who wore a sacred thread. So he used to wear a cap because Muslim boys, they wear cap, isn't it? White cap. And Ramanathan Shastri used to wear a sacred thread. You know, Brahmins, they wear some kind of a thread around their body. So now when this new teacher joined the school and came to their class, he could not digest the fact. He's saying the new teacher could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. He could not digest, or he could not tolerate the fact that a Hindu priest's son, okay, a Brahmin son, will be sitting with a Muslim boy, because APJ Abdul Kalam was a Muslim boy. Okay, and his friend, what is his name? Ramanathan Shastri was a Hindu Brahmin boy. So what did he do? In accordance with our social ranking, as the new teacher saw it, I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. So what did the new teacher do? The new teacher shifted me and told me to go and sit at the back bench. Okay? I felt very sad. Definitely he did not feel sad because of the fact that he was sitting in the back bench, but because he was not able to now sit with his best friend. Okay? So definitely when I or any other teacher would shift, we'd separate you from your best friend, you all would be annoyed and you all would be cursing us, isn't it? पता नहीं क्या क्या गाली भी देते हो अंदर में. So now here, these two boys were being separated. Okay, and they were separated because of their religious differences. So I was asked to go and sit on the back bench, and so he felt very sad. Okay, and so did Ramanathan Shastri. Both of them felt very sad because they were best friends and they wanted to sit together and they were good students. He looked utterly downcast. He felt very sad. Okay, as I shifted to my seat in the last row, that means his friend Ramanathan Shastri felt very sad when his friend APJ Abdul Kalam was shifted to the last row. The image of him weeping when I shifted to the last row left a lasting impression on me. And the friend, Ramanatha, was crying like anything. Okay, and that has really touched me so deeply. It has created a lasting impression in my mind forever. Okay, so students, I stop here. In my next class I will finish the lesson and I will discuss the question answers. In the live class there is a lot of problem, as some of you cannot hear me properly, I cannot hear you properly, so I will put a video instead of a live class. Thank you.